If I watch you do it, it's not making me jump. You guys want to turn your microphone?
We'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. We appreciate your attendance. For this Cache County Council meeting, we will first have our opening by Council Member Nolan Gunnell.
Thank you. Appreciate you all being here. And I didn't want that on, so I will have my opening comments in the form of a prayer. Our Father in heaven, we come before thee this day as we give thanks for this opportunity to assemble, and we're grateful for this country. We give thanks for those men and women in the past and present who have served and protected this land, both foreign and domestic. We give thanks for their sacrifices, and we ask thy blessing to be upon them and their families. We give thanks for the freedoms which we enjoy. May we recognize those and fight to preserve those freedoms that we each are benefiting from. May we be blessed to do things in a manner that will be pleasing and the proper, and we give thanks for this and do so in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Now, join me as stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gunnell. How about I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moving second that we approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. How about the approval of the minutes of, oh, by the way, that was the amended agenda.
Yes.
Okay. How about the minutes of July 23rd?
I will move we approve the minutes of the July 23rd, 2024 meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of July 23rd. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. We'll go ahead and turn it over for, looks like we have other items of the small set conference and Cache County Fair by the Executive's Office.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dirk Anderson from the County Executive's Office. I was just asked to give a couple of updates. First, as many of you may know, the Small SAT Conference is scheduled to leave Cache County for the foreseeable future, and it's something that will impact us negatively economically and in many other ways. Our county executive has been working with the university in an effort to try to help and encourage the Small SAT Conference to still use local vendors even though they're moving their locations. And so any affected businesses that could still be involved, we'd love for them to get in touch so that we can help them. This can include food vendors, t-shirt vendors, other things like that. Also, when it comes to the county fair and rodeo, we just are so excited and grateful for how well it went off this year, and we're grateful to all of those who helped pull off the greatest party in Utah this last week. And we just really appreciate and want to extend everyone's involvement because it takes everyone, and it's really amazing how complex and an amazing of an event it is. Last of all, our county executive asked me to update the council on that he toured Jump the Moon today, and that's one of our nonprofit organizations that is supported by RAPS Tax. He was very impressed. They're involved in art education, and we just want to invite anyone here to go visit and get to know them better and see the contribution they're making. Thank you, council, for all that you do, and thanks for this opportunity for my report.
Okay, thank you. Items of special interest. We will now go ahead and turn the time over to Sheriff Chad Jensen for a special recognition.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and County Council, for giving us just a few minutes today to recognize one of our finest, and it's not Phil. Everybody in our careers, we all have moments when the time comes to retire, and we're going to recognize someone special today. I wish it was actually Phil who was retiring and not the dog, but we got recognize Okar, our canine, who's been a faithful and awesome deputy for our office for the last 9 years. Okar's a 9-year-old German Shepherd. He began his service with the Cache County Sheriff's Office in February of 2018. Okar's a dual-purpose dog, which means he's a narcotics dog and also a patrol dog. Okar has a very hard drive. He loves being a partner, and he loves going to work every day with Deputy Johnson. Okar doesn't go to, and Phil made this comment to me today, and Okar doesn't go to work every day because he's been trained to be mean or anything like that. He goes because he loves it. And when you see Okar working in the field, you know that dog loves what he does. Being a canine handler, I'm going to talk about Phil for just a minute. Being a canine handler is really a job that goes above and beyond what any other job anywhere could create. That job goes home with you every day of your life. Your job lives with you. It goes to work with you every day. It actually becomes a member of a family and part of Phil's family. So it is special times for the dogs when they come into our office and work in our field. Phil's canine officers and Phil's had these dogs since they were puppies all the way through today when they've deservingly get to retire after 9 or 10 years of hard work that they've put together. Okar's a deputy with our organization, but he's also a family member for Phil's family. I've seen Phil and his kids with him. The kids climb on him. He licks their faces. He jumps on the couches like every other good dog should do. But when he comes to work, it's all business for that one. Canines for us, and I'll go through some stats in just a second, but they do great police work for law enforcement. But what Phil, specifically Phil, because he's fantastic at it, but also the dog, is it opens a door that lets us communicate with so many different people and so many different groups in our community. I don't know how many, that's not a stat that I put together, but Phil and Okar have done hundreds of presentations in community events, National Night Out, school kids. Just having the dog present and the questions and the curiosity people have opened so many doors for our office to be able to speak with thousands of people in our community about public safety and law enforcement and the curiosity they have with the dogs. Okar, when he comes to work, Okar is just one of the boys. He's been part of thousands of calls. He's assisted in searches, in drug searches, in arrests thousands of times in his career with our organization. Okar is going to be missed not only by our office, but by every agency in Cache County, because he's worked with every agency and every officer in Cache County. The importance of canines, and we'll go over some stats, it's not so much at the work that they do, whether they find drugs or apprehend a suspect. The mere presence of a dog when they show up on an incident, it has saved more deputies' lives and citizens' lives and suspects' lives just because that dog is at the scene. We have incidents in the jail. All you have to do is open the door and that dog comes in, and any uprisings or any problems we have in a jail instantly go away just because of the presence of the dog. And I don't know as we could put enough stats together that ever would truly describe how many injuries or lives that dog has saved just by being at work every single day. He's been a great member of our office for 9 years now. Phil's been a fantastic handler. His family loves the dog, and he's been a great member of their family as well. Some of the stats to go over: Okar, since 2018, has had 2,150 hours of training. Since 2018, he's responded to 2,939 calls for service. Of these calls for service, Okar has been responsible for 541 arrests. Out of those arrests that resulted out of the calls for service the dog responded to. And with the other agencies, Okar is directly responsible for 416 arrests where Okar was called to assist in work that the other local agencies were doing as well. Okar's been with our office since 2018, and at 1,600 hours today, he was officially adopted by Phil and his family. He's going to be a member of Phil's family, and they're going to love him to death, and He's going to be a lap dog, and Phil's wife's going to let him into the house and give him his own bed and let him be a fantastic house dog. But with that, I would like Phil to bring Okar up, and you keep the dog clear of me. Just kidding. For all his hard work, and this is the first dog that we've actually been able to retire that's done a whole career of service within our organization, and I'm going to present Phil and Okar with the Sheriff's Medal for his years of service with our organization.
Oh. I want to thank everybody for coming out today, supporting me. I just want to tell everybody thank you. So many people, a bunch of deputies that are here that have helped me through the process of having him, and I'm very appreciative. I want to thank the sheriff for not firing me. I got a little story I got to tell you guys. So, about 4 or 5 years ago, I decided to take Okar to the sheriff's office for a break. And he was by the garbage can, by the patrol door, and just, had to go to the bathroom a little bit. Well, the next thing I know, the sheriff, he wants the sheriff still. Yeah. The sheriff comes out the door, and he was in a hurry because he was late for a meeting. And in the process, Okar thought he was the bad guy. So Okar went after him and was in midair, and luckily I had this thing. This is my e-collar remote, and I caught him in the air, but he did bite the sheriff on the shoulder. And it was, I remember calling a bunch of deputies. I'm like, I think I'm done here. I don't. But I want to thank the sheriff. He's mocked me for the last 5 or 6 years over it. But he's always been in good spirits, and I just want to let him know I appreciate that. I want to tell my family how much I appreciate them for putting up with this. This is a big investment, not only for me but for my family. And when I'm not around, they've all been able to help take care of him. And like the sheriff was saying, they all love him. So I just want to tell the citizens of Cache County that I'm thankful that you guys trusted me with this. It's an expensive tool, I know that it is, but I think he's done a really good job. And it's hard for me because he every day I go to work, he's my backup. And there's been quite a few times where I know if it wasn't for him, I could have got hurt or somebody else could have. And so this big stinky animal means a lot to me. If anybody knows this dog, he does everything because he loves it, and he's not mean. He'll do the job. He's not scared of anything, but he just absolutely loves. He has a smile on his face. Right now, he's thinking, well, are we going to get to work, Dad? What are we waiting for? And the last few days, I basically retired him from the street on Thursday. Well, Monday and Tuesday, I've had to go to work, and he has not been happy because he didn't go with me. So I got to figure out a different place to park so he can't see me. But he just, as soon as he sees me in uniform, he starts spinning in his kennel. And today when he went out, usually he runs around the house looking for cats or something for a couple of minutes. But today he ran right to the truck and said, Dad, I want to go to work. So anyways, I want to thank everybody for coming. That's all I got.
My first question is, how old is he?
9.
So he's retiring at 63 then.
63, getting close. If there's any consolation to getting bit, Phil's wife makes fantastic jam. That was some of the best homemade raspberry jam I've had. That was my payment. So if it's okay with the council, since we got such a group here, not to disrupt your council meeting, we're going to leave and go take some pictures and
Oh, please.
be done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is an honor. I didn't see anyone run out and ahead of the dog. That was a very honorable recognition. We appreciate that very much. I feel sorry for the next one on our agenda to follow up on that. But we'll turn the time now over to Jason Slight from Jones Simpkins and say good luck. Thanks for, go ahead and share that 2023 external audit report.
Thank you. The last presentation I did for another entity was after a birthday party. So they tend to put the audit report right after something that's really special. As was mentioned, my name is Jason Slide. I'm an audit partner with Jones Simpkins. We're a local CPA firm just a few blocks west of here, based out of Logan, Utah. We had the opportunity to work with the county this year on their external financial statement audit, which is required by the state of Utah, and it went really well. Financial statement audit's not easy. We go through a lot of information. We ask a lot of questions. We can be pretty annoying, and we're here for quite a while. And I just want to commend the team that we worked with, your finance team and your different elected officials and their teams for being so available and helping us through this process. Just really quickly, the financial statements of the county consist of the financial statements themselves for each, and there's multiple opinion units. There's the entity-wide, which is all the assets, liabilities of the county, and then there's your different funds. You've got general fund, your tax collection fund, and multiple other funds that we look at. You have notes to the financial statements, which describe in detail the county's policies and information related to the numbers within the financial statements. There's required supplementary information associated with budgets, management's discussion related to changes during the year, pension information. There's also additional supplementary information related to information that management would like users of the financial statements to know. And then finally, there's reports that we issue as auditors. Generally, governmental financial statements are some of the longest financial statements out there. A typical corporate set of financial statements might be 20 to 30 pages. These are over 100 pages long. So there's just a lot of information that's included in these financial statements. And so it takes quite a bit of time to put them together and quite a bit of effort. So again, I'd like to thank those that worked with us. We completed the audit about a month ago. We wanted to give you as a council time to review the financial statements just to make sure if there were any concerns or questions before we presented. And hopefully you've had time to review them. I'd like to just kind of go over our responsibilities as auditors rather than the details themselves. I can tell you the county had a good year as far as financial, from a financial perspective goes. Within budget on our expenditures, revenues were strong again, and so a good year there. But it's not our job as auditors to give an opinion about how the county did. It's more whether or not the information that's presented in these financial statements, whether it's materially correct. So we have two objectives. We come in and we determine whether or not these are materially correct. We obtain reasonable assurance, not absolute. I've joked about this in the past, but if it was absolute, we'd have to look at everything, and I don't think anybody would want to see us again if we did that. And so we take a risk-based approach where we look at really significant items. We pull anything that's above a certain threshold that we identify on our ends as being considered material. We look at 100% of those, and then we sample smaller items. And then we try to incorporate some unpredictability as well. So each year we tend to get questions of why are you looking at this year? And that's because we're trying to incorporate some unpredictability. So again, we look at big items, we look at small items, and all of that is based on risk assessments that we perform as we come into the audit and as we go through the audit. After we do that, our second objective is to give an opinion. And so on the very first page of this set of financial statements is our opinion. And right in the very first paragraph, we give our opinion. And I can tell you that we've audited the financial statements of every opinion unit here at the county, government-wide, fund level, major funds, component units, and then everything else. And we can tell you, in our opinion, based on our report, and there is a small unit that is audited by another auditor, that the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the county. So we can we are sure that these financial statements are materially correct. Materiality, we've discussed this in the past as well, is the idea that if something were materially wrong in here, it would significantly affect the decisions made by financial statement users. So it would significantly affect the council's decisions, it would significantly affect outside users if you were out bonding or getting another sort of financing. If they were to find out that there was something materially wrong and it completely changed their decision, that would be considered materially incorrect. So we can tell you that we feel comfortable that these financial statements are materially correct. So that's the first report that we give. We're also required in certain in all governmental audits to issue a report related to the county's controls. We don't audit controls. To audit controls, we'd come in and test a significant number of transactions and make sure those controls are functioning. Instead, we gain an understanding of your controls and we determine whether or not we've identified any deficiencies in those controls. So the second report is that report, and a deficiency in a control is something that the control isn't working in such a way that it prevents management or employees from identifying or correcting a misstatement in a timely manner. Misstatements happen, and a good control will identify that misstatement and correct it before a significant amount of time passes. Every entity has control deficiencies, though. I don't know if anybody can get away from having a control deficiency. What we then have is we need to determine, well, if we identify a control deficiency or something in our control or our system of internal control that is deficient, how deficient is it, and what are the effects of that deficiency? If we decide that it would result, if this control is in such a place that if there's a deficiency there, that it would result in a material weakness, like there's a potential that an adjustment could be required that would be materially affect the financial statements, we call that a material weakness. And then if we feel like, well, there's these control deficiencies, they're big enough that we want to make sure management and those that are charged with governance or the council knows about that, but we don't feel like it could result in a material weakness, we call that a significant deficiency. And so in our report this year, we have identified a few significant deficiencies, one related to just controls in general, and then a couple related to federal awards. And I just want to touch on those really quickly. We've had a great conversation with your audit committee, with management. I feel like we've received a really thoughtful corrective action plan related to these findings. And so I just want to touch on those really quickly. The first related to controls in general, I know was driven mostly by just the significant amount of turnover that occurred specifically in your finance department during 2023. That much turnover made it nearly impossible to not have some sort of deficiency related to controls. And so I feel like we've got a good finance team in place now. Again, they've submitted a very thoughtful and well thought out corrective action plan. And so I don't really want to focus on that or dwell on that very much. I feel like we're in a good position going forward. The controls related to and the findings related to compliance with federal awards that we have, in any time an entity spends more than $750 of federal funds, so if you get a grant from the federal government and you spend more than $750,000, it requires some additional testing to be performed. It's called a single audit. And the county, between it and its component units, it expended a little bit more than $14 million this year, so you're well above that $750,000 threshold. We tested as part of that required single audit for what we call major programs or 4 grants. And again, I feel like the corrective action plan associated with these findings that I'll discuss briefly has been very well thought out. But and I think the real reason for these is also just some turnover, but when you have federal funds, you're not allowed to use those or to spend those on, or to contract with somebody that's considered debarred or suspended. And that could be a country that the United States doesn't want to do business with, or somebody that's just done something wrong that the United States has debarred. That's not happened here at the county. We haven't worked with any individuals like that, but you are required to check when you are contracting with somebody. That was happening in prior years with some turnover. It was missed a few times. So I just wanted to bring that up. A good plan is in place again, like I said, with the finance team. I feel like we've got a good plan moving forward. And then the other finding was associated with reporting. Certain federal awards require reporting to that federal agency. Some of the reports didn't reconcile to what was actually happening. I consider that minor, but it was enough that we wanted to bring that up and say that we had identified that. But again, I feel like there's a thoughtful plan going forward for that. And then finally, in the state of Utah, our firm works with several states, and this is somewhat unique to the state of Utah, but there's some compliance requirements that each municipality and governmental entity in the state of Utah is required to adhere to. And we're required to test some of those each year, and then some of those on a rotating basis. And I believe you're aware of the fraud risk assessment being a little bit late. That's been submitted, I believe, now. And then just want to emphasize the importance of being transparent, making information public. That's required to be. The county's done a great job at posting information related to meetings to its website. There's just some other places that the state requires it to be posted to. So bring that up as well. Other than that, I don't know if you have any questions for me. Again, I think the audit went really well. I feel like you've got a great team in place, and I really appreciate the corrective action plan that's been put in place, and I feel like we're on a really good path forward. Any questions, concerns?
Questions?
Can you explain compensated absences?
Yeah, it's basically time that is being accrued by an individual. Vacation time is a good example, that will be paid out upon termination or retirement. So it's not
carrying balance based on our tenure of employees.
Basically, yeah, you'll accrue a certain amount of time. There's a county policy that allows for a certain amount to be paid out when you retire. Governmental accounting standards require us to estimate what that would be if it were to be paid out today, and we book that as a liability. It's not necessarily something that you're going to be paying out in cash this year because somebody could use their time, but it's a required disclosure.
Okay.
Other questions?
One more. You said publishing of notices of public meetings. Where are we not publishing? Do you know that?
The primary location is the Utah Public Notice website. So that we just need to make sure it's getting there. They require that all public meetings, minutes of those meetings be posted to that website. We had a great conversation about that, and I think internally there's going to be discussion about which meetings should be considered public and which should be not. So.
Okay.
I'll just say when Jason presented his findings to the audit committee, he had some very detailed reporting, and we went over a lot of things, and I think we've got plans in place that basically fill all these, and I'll call them small little gaps that the turnover, and that's really what it was turnover created.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked for I think over an hour. I don't think you want me to do that here, so.
What you've shared is actually what we've experienced some very interesting times the past few years.
Yes.
It's required us to make some hard decisions. But I think we have come through, it's been tough, but we have come through. I think we are going to be a lot stronger. And I'm hoping, I appreciate your support on that and helping us on that. But we'll be stronger, I know, and better.
Yeah.
So If there's no other questions, we'll say thank you very much and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead with we'll follow right up with Wes Bingham. Let's go ahead and share the updated fraud risk assessment.
Yeah, so as Jason mentioned, part of what we have to do as a county is we need to go through and evaluate our internal controls and fill out a questionnaire and submit that to the state auditor. So this would typically be done, for fiscal year 23, it'd be completed around January of, 24, December of 23, right around that time frame. So this is kind of a follow-up to, again, just complete the process, submit it to the state auditor, and make sure we're in full compliance. Some of the things that we've identified that, we can improve. We need to have all governing board members complete entity-specific training, online training within 4 years of term appointment or election date. Having or promoting a fraud hotline. Having a formal internal audit function. So those are all areas that I think we could have some improvement. I know we do have some capability as far as submitting, via like email, some fraud, fraud reporting there. But I think adding the state auditor's hotline number on there is another way in which citizens can reach out and address fraud issues when it comes to public monies. And then I think as we have more resources come this next year in January, that we can start to do more internal audit function and look at our policies, such as purchasing policy and those different policies, and make sure people are in compliance, when they use, for example, a credit card for the county or, make a purchase for the county. So there's just different policies that, we want to ensure that we're following. So if you don't have any questions, I'll take any questions if you have any, but anyway, I'll be submitting this to the state auditor.
I have a question, Wes. When you said all governing board members need to complete online training, are you talking about the different boards that we all sit on? What specifically do you mean?
Yeah, so that was one of the findings in the audit, has more kind of detail, but you are required to go through some training, online training through the state. So, and many of you might have done that. The feedback or my understanding was that not every board has done the training. And so we just got to look at that and make sure we have some follow-up, get a reporting process and make sure we're following up on that.
How do we know what kind of training, or do we get a notice or something?
So I'll follow up with you on that,
Great,
Barbara.
Because I'm sure I haven't done some of
Is this
those.
part of that Cantola stuff that we're supposed to be
No.
updating?
No,
It's completely separate for the boards, okay.
correct.
And
And it's about open and public meetings and
okay.
that information, what forms a quorum. They go through quite a bit of different areas.
Okay.
Training.
Speaking of the Cantola training, is that part of this?
So that is separate. That's specifically more of a risk management training that personnel management works with our insurance provider to have those trainings for staff and others, just to address risk management.
Do we have to complete those in order to meet any requirements?
It's completely separate,
Okay. All right.
not the same issue.
Okay, great.
So anyway, meant to just kind of be brief on this. We're addressing, again, one of the findings that we specifically had in the audit and getting it submitted to the state auditor. And we will address those other findings, through, I'm going to be looking for training for staff specific to government finance and those areas, so
I would appreciate follow-up to me on that.
I will.
Sending that stuff to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Sean, Rural County Grant Program, here we go again, another year.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair and Council. If it seems as though I'm here a little early, that's because I am. The state moved up a couple of deadlines this year for reporting and for the grant cycle for fiscal year 25. It's the second time they've done so in the last few years. So I'm sure that here in a few years, we'll probably be having this conversation in June or May, I'm guessing. But yeah, tonight's just more of an update than anything and a request from you. At your next county council meeting, I will be seeking a vote for that annual application period. So on the 27th, I'll come, I think it's Tuesday the 27th. Thank you, Micah. I'll come before you and ask you for a vote so that I make sure that I meet the obligation according to the fiscal year 25 grant, which every year I come to the local legislative body, which here is the county council or you, and make sure that you're aware of what it is I'm submitting, the request for. In between tonight's meeting and that next one, the County Economic Opportunity Advisory Board, aka CEO Board, will convene next week. Of course, council members Sandy Goodlander and Mark Hurd sit on that. They're two of our 7 representatives on that CEO board. And they, as the name implies, are advisory to you. So they'll be making some recommendations. But remembering last year's process, there was a notation of wanting to make sure that there was some money set aside for grant, for water optimization grants. And we were originally going to have that in June. It's going to be in October at the start of the year for this fiscal 24 money, if only because that was a busy time for a lot of water masters like Councilman Hurd happens to be in his non-council life. So I wanted to bring this before you to let you know that at the next meeting I will be requesting a vote and ask of you if you had anything that you would like the county to contemplate through the CEO board to bring before you for your consideration next time. In other words, they get first blush and they are advisory to you, but are there any projects or elements of economic development that you would like them to consider next week at their next meeting? If not, that's fine, but.
It's about $40,000.
Yes.
Roughly,
Yep, thank you. Yep.
that we have.
Councilwoman Buse?
So what to do with that $40,000?
Well, yeah, that'll be the vote at the next meeting, but if you had anything that you wanted me to share with them as they contemplate, like planning and zoning, they're intended to be the ferret out how this county would like to see economic development go. And then like planning and zoning, sometimes, Stephen Nelson and staff will bring things from their deliberative body back to you for final approval. You guys do the same thing with the CEO board.
Well, I don't know if this will be maybe anything to do with that funding, but discussion as to why small SAT left was because of the lack of hotels. And so, I don't know if that's an in-depth conversation or something that would be, if we're going to be missing out on other opportunities in the future, if that's something that we as a body need to look into and
Having
see.
more hotel rooms.
Yeah, this has been a hot topic for the last week, as you might imagine, and Councilwoman, you and I, of course, have had an opportunity to touch base on this, and one of the ways that might be thought of is how to contemplate more inventory of event inventory. As an example, they bring about 4,500 people from around the world to our small little county here and community, and attendees love it. But unfortunately, those 4,500 folks and the resulting business, I think we're going to miss that water that's going to be dry from the well next year. And we had talked about, Councilman Buse and I, the potential of directing some of this funding to see if we could work with, there's got to be some professional agency out there, right? Anybody that has a true convention center and truly wants to have that as busy as can be, like Salt Lake Convention Center. I'm aware of some of the things that they're offering small SAT. I don't know that it's probably appropriate to disclose them in such a public meeting, but we're going to be hard pressed as a community to tackle some of the things that they're throwing at them in order to get them down there, right? They want to woo people there. But when I say they are wooing people, they have somebody who's actively engaged in building up event inventory. And we may look at doing the same thing. There are such businesses that that's what they specialize in, is trying to build, events and making sure that an event center, a conference center, Riverwoods employs such a person in business development. Like I said, Salt Lake County Convention Center and Sandy Expo, Mountain America Credit Expo, as they're officially known. They employ people that's just what they do. They pick up the phone and call corporate entities and say, hey, if you're holding a conference, would you come here? We may choose through you to apply some of that grant money that way to see what we could do to attract additional, round out the season. Part of the challenge is that with 4,500 people that come, we only have a little less than 1,100 rooms with all of our hotels in the valley. Now that's in our county, excuse me, because there is one small hotel in Preston, and there's a lot of Airbnbs there. We also have a lot of Airbnbs, but as you likely know, there's a lot of other events going on at the same time as SmallSat, right? Our own fair is a big one. There's just a lot of organic tourism that happens this time of year. And so for about 4 or 5 months out of the year, our hoteliers can pick and choose, who's there, and they raise their rates accordingly. If you've ever gone and used Uber, then you know what I mean when I say surge or demand pricing. And hotels have the same kind of paradigm where they float their rate depending upon the demand. And unfortunately, that rate, it had gotten quite heavy for some of the government entities. And as this body will respect, you want to keep folks like me and Micah and anybody else, within some bounds. And we would call that per diem for folks that might follow along in the audio later. And many of the hotels were charging 5 times per diem rate. And so you had a lot of federal agencies that are the very reason many of those attendees would come here to SmallSat saying, we're out. We just can't afford that. And we can respect why they would come to that conclusion, but if you're the SmallSat organizers, you look at that and go, well, that's not very good, because that's the very reason that many of these attendees come, is because they want to exchange in that business networking salesmanship way. They want to sell to some of these federal agencies what they're doing. And so when they don't show up, that's a loss. Again, I could probably go into more detail than you want attributed to the time on the agenda, but things like that, Councilwoman Buse, yeah, you might think about how to direct some of that funding. I can guarantee you the CEO board is already fervently talking about this topic and, what will we do, because we have a number of other members, as Councilwoman Goodlander knows, on that board, that they're going to feel the pinch next year. We have one caterer, as just a last anecdotal example. One caterer here in town that many of us know is very, very prominent and busy, I think, throughout most of the year. I see him very busy, particularly in the holidays. This 1 week of SmallSat is his Black Friday. So, there's talk from the folks that lead SmallSat that they'll invite the local vendors to still bid on or participate on some of those services, but doing so in Salt Lake. So that'll increase their costs, obviously, as a small vendor here, to make that commute and their staff. But they're trying to think of ways that they would lessen that impact. We'll just see how it goes.
Sean, I have, in your opinion, now that they've left, how long would it take to get them back?
Interesting question, and I point blank asked that of a couple of their decision makers. I don't know that we'll have that opportunity, because Salt Lake County saw an opportunity. They've pounced on it. They've offered them an incentives package if they will sign to a multi-year deal. They're just as hungry, right? Like they have the space. But honestly, Councilwoman, I don't know if I'm being really sincere, and I don't like saying this in such a public forum, but good for SmallSat. They think that they can boost their numbers immediately by 1,000 attendees. I mean, if we're ill-suited to support what they currently have had, we're going to be that much more pinched. And the hoteliers, kudos to them for trying to get what they can out of the 4 or 5 months of the year that they're really busy. The problem is when you're only busy that kind of density for 4 or 5 months out of the year, you don't have enough of a demand for the 12 months of a mortgage payment to build new inventory. Now, there is a new one coming into town. There is going to be one more hotel, but that's not going to come anywhere close to the difference between 1,100 rooms and the 4,500 that they need. But yeah, there's a lot more I can add to that, but maybe a different conversation at a different time. So, Councilwoman, I think building up the inventory, particularly in the shoulder seasons when it's not the 4 or 5 months that we're heavily in demand, trying to build more event inventory on those edges of fall and spring, that's probably a good sweet spot. We need to make more of the months out of 12 profitable for hoteliers, and then they'll think about adding even more inventory quicker. But until that time, it just doesn't make much sense for the private sector to do that.
Well, give us some time. I guess we'll be thinking about some things and relay them to you within the next couple of weeks, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
The next item on the agenda is for the Cache Valley Remembers event. Doug?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you're gonna get booted up and stuff.
Okay, perfect. You can put that up.
While you're doing that, while you're getting set up and everything, let's go ahead and set the public hearings real quick. 9A, B, C, and D, and E.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we set a public hearing for August 27th for ordinance 2024-13, 2024-14, 2024-15, 2024-16, and there's another 2024-16A. Do I need to?
Nope. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. So
And resolution 2024-16, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a second on those? Moved and seconded that we set the public hearings for 2024-13, 14, 15, 16, and resolution 2024-16 for August 27th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks for your patience on that. We thought we'd kind of jump ahead on a couple things as we're going along. We're supposed to do that as close to 5:30 as possible. That's fine. That was as close to 5:30.
That was no problem. I have no idea what you just said, so.
Introduce yourself and everything, and this is actually, this is actually was reached out to me by Mr. Ferry, and go ahead and share what's happening so that we can understand it and then either get on board and help and put this thing together.
Perfect. Thank you for having us come up to today. I actually got a call about 12:30 to do this to be because Johnny Ferry is stuck in a airport. So bear with me. But my name is Doug Clark. I'm on the executive board for the Major Brent Taylor Foundation. For those of you that don't know, the Major Brent Taylor was the mayor of North Ogden when he was on his 4th deployment overseas, father of 7, and was killed overseas in Afghanistan. And since that time, there's been a foundation set up to inspire, train, honor, and engage the communities around us. With what we've done, we do a lot of different things, whether it's flag missions or hanging a giant flag, things like that. One of our missions, if you want to change to the next one, is a 9/11 project. And this started approximately, 4 years ago. We started the 9/11 project and did that in Weber County. Had about 10,000 people go through in that weekend. We had no idea what we had there. It was something that we wanted to share. Didn't know if it would ever happen again, because that was on the 20th anniversary. But with Johnny Ferry and Jenny Taylor heading that up and co-doing that, we were able to pull off a very great event in that. You can go to the next one. So here's what we've done, and so we've been in Weber County. We did Weber County the first year, Davis County the next year. They wanted us. We went back to Weber County. Cache Valley has come to us, and we've been very excited. We've been meeting monthly since the first of the year. with plans on how we're doing. We're going to use the Hanson Sports Complex in North Logan. We will be in one building this year. This is just a layout of what will take place. The far, if you look at the far right of the screen, is kind of a maze and a museum of pictures. Johnny, right there in the far left, is standing up against one of those 4-foot by 8-foot murals that we have. That whole hallway of that will be those exact murals. It'll go through. At first, it'll be Cache County. As we walk through the state of Utah, at that point in time in 2001, it'll go to the United States and then New York. And as we go through that, if you want to click to the next one as well, we see New York. As you walk through, you'll see the Statue of Liberty there, and go through seeing that, the time of that. And we walk you through a subway tunnel, is the way we call it, and go into, once you go in that, we have all the events of 9/11. So we have it on the poster boards. We have videos. We have rooms that show videos and do all that. You can click to the next one there. I didn't know if, go ahead. We just show this quick video, but as you can see, you're seeing the backdrops from a drone, but you can see how that walks through with the lighting, the different things, and we'll go through the day of 9/11 and all the different events that had happened that day. We will go through the aftermath of it, and at the very end, what we'd like to do is bring out the patriotism and all that and show all the good that's happened. We'll have flags, we'll have all the great things about the country and the areas that we live in, and go from there. Once they are through this museum portion, we go through. Can you just click through? I think we get. So I don't see what slides you're on there. Click one more. Let's not play. Do not play that. There we go. So the Cache Valley Remembers projects. We have the museum exhibit, and then we have the Community Resource Center. That will be police, Army, United Way, different organizations throughout the community that'll have a little booth there that'll talk about what they're doing. So the purpose of doing that is showing as a country how we came together on 9/11 and what we did. Now, what are some of the things that we can do after that? And it gives us a teaching example of how we do that. And then outside, we will leave the building and go to a Touch a Truck event where we will have fire trucks, police cars, military vehicles. I think we've got a glider coming this year, hopefully a helicopter that people can walk around, talk to whomever is there with that event. The great thing about this is one of the things we want to do is teach, and we all kind of know, some here might not remember that day of 9/11, 2001. But what we want to do is teach and train and honor the people that lost their lives that day and how our world changed. I mean, this is the Pearl Harbor of our generation, right? And we need to train and teach people of how we came together and how we did that. And that is the good thing about what we're doing here. Next slide is just our calendar, and so we will be doing that at the North Logan Community Center. We're having on Wednesday the 11th. We are having a VIP event where we will kind of explain more about what we do, how we do it, and then walk a group through the exhibit. The first ones to do that. One of the great parts of what we get to do and what's going to happen here in Cache County is we're open to the schools, and we've put it out to every school district. And right now, we're about 6,000 students that are going to come to our event. In those 3 days, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that'll be walking through that event. One of the great things about that I've experienced every year that I've gone is we bring the kids through with their school class, and they kind of walk through and they're like, whoa, what just happened? And they go home and they talk to their parents about it. We have those evenings where those kids are bringing parents back, and they're able to talk to them and explain, and hey, this is where I was, and this is what we do. So we're open to the public, and do that all the way through. The next slide, it kind of shows our VIP event, which is what we'll do. The next one, with an event like this, we are doing this completely free. So the schools aren't paying anything to enter the facility. None of the public will not as well. Did we go to the? But we're doing volunteers, and so we've been heading up volunteers and asking for volunteers. Here's a code that we could get volunteers to do. We need help in setup, so constructing those the frames, the wood frames that go on it, and then putting those boards up there, setting up the resource fair, those things. Then as the week goes on, people to kind of guide through, keep the flow of everything going on, what's happening and what's doing. So those volunteer opportunities are there, and then tear down on that late Saturday night that we will do. So these QR codes and volunteer information and sponsorship information we'll talk about right now is also on the website that we have and the Facebook page, so we can spread that out, share that, do all that that we're doing. So again, yeah, we're also looking for sponsorships all the time that could help fund some of this and do that. Our community outreach, which is the next slide, again, that is our community people here in Cache County. We're doing everything we can here in Cache County, buying from the lumber to the T-shirts to all the mills, those types of things. We're all trying to do that right here in Cache County and purchase that and doing those things there. It's cool. And then we'd have our community outreach. The next one is sponsorships. So again, we're looking for those sponsors. If you know somebody that we can share and do that to help us in those things, whether it's dollars, volunteer hours, donations, etc. And then the last slide just shows our thing here. I would encourage you to go and look up CacheValleyRemembers.com. That is a website that was created here for just this event, and they are putting information out there. There are videos that we didn't watch here tonight that are on there, more about that. There's also the Facebook Cache Valley Remembers that we could use as well to share. So we would encourage as a council and everything else to kind of push that out. We'd love to see you at our VIP event. We'd love to see you during the event as coming through and saying hi. It is something that will touch your heart. And it has changed many lives as well, that we just sit there and go, wow, this is what we experience, and how can we share it? How can we teach the next generation that? And I will answer any questions if you have them. I kind of went through everything really fast and good, and hopefully slow or quick enough time, but if any questions?
I think you're talking about that first generation that have not that were not on this earth to experience that are probably hitting college. Is that
Yes.
right?
So they're 22 years old, 23 years old right now.
You know, and they've probably just kind of heard a few things. They were too young or weren't even around to experience anything like that. And I'm sure that every one of us remembers some of us maybe. But
you got to be careful when you say that.
I know,
right?
but we remember the moment. and where we were, what we were doing when that event happened.
And we start some meetings with, when we're introducing that and say, just think of where you were, what you experienced, and what you know about that event right now, and think about it, and just, go through those emotions of what we experienced there. And our generation before us had that same experience with Pearl Harbor, or maybe JFK. Just those different life events that happened that really touch and are history making. We experienced that, and we need to teach the future generation how much respect, unity, and love that we have for what happened there. This is John Ferry, and he's Johnny.
I'm not Johnny. That's my son. But anyway, a couple of things just to give you a little more background. We have been meeting several times with all of the mayors. We've had meetings, and most of the mayors have been in attendance, and so we have that groundswell of support. We've been meeting with Mr. Zook, so he's fully aware of what we're doing and what we're promoting. We've been up on campus and have met with, and so ASUSU is all involved as far as the volunteers. But we are seriously looking for sponsors. I will tell you that Utah State has led up. They've opened up their wallet, and so we do have a substantial donation from them, and we're looking for that. To run this thing and have it run smoothly with all the bells and whistles, it's roughly about $50,000, okay? All of the 2x4s you saw that hold up all of that, that has all been donated in the past. That's what we're looking at. As Mr. Chairman, as you mentioned, the fact that children, we talk about the K through 12 who go through it and see all of this. Well, up on campus, all of those students have never seen it. It's been that long ago, but we've got to be careful as far as our lives have changed. I mean, you see the videos of the expression on President Bush's face when that Secret Service leans over and whispers to him of what just happened. You see the planes hit. We got video of that. You see the aftermath, the shock and all of that, and then you see up through the rubble and the ashes, the flag. And you also see how tough it was, but tough people come to serve. And we need to, and so there is a sense of patriotism, resolve, gratefulness for those upon whose shoulders we stand. We talk about those giants before us. They're still here. They live amongst us. We're not talking about those of the 1700s, the 1800s, all that sort of thing. They're here. We still have that resolve and that strength within us. And so that's basically what this is all about, and would welcome your support.
We appreciate that. We'll have to discuss that, I guess, as a council too, and jump on for opportunities to, volunteer too, and to do everything that we can there. But I appreciate you coming. I appreciate the information. Go ahead.
You'll see signs that are popping up, and if we can put them anywhere else. You talked about Utah State, I'm sorry, but the Utah State University Utah game is that Saturday, September 14th. We will have our flag, we call it the major, 178 feet by 150 feet by 78 feet. So it'll go from the 25-yard line to the 25-yard line, from hash mark to hash mark. We will be presenting that before the game as well. Part of the whole events, there'll be flags up on campus. So we will see in the county a great swell of patriotism during that time. So we're looking forward to it.
We appreciate taking your time and giving us an informative of a set of that important event. So thank you very much.
And I need to go back out to my truck, but I'm going to bring some little flyers that'll have some more information. I'll just put it on the corner of the desk. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead with Diana.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So under tax relief this evening, you have two hardships. One with a recommendation for approval, the other for denial. And Council Chair, you have that blue folder with all of the signature pages, which you'll grab that later, Micah. Great. So if we can start with the one for approval. This is a previous applicant. That parcel is 03149-00112. a disabled fellow that lives in home that his parents left him when they died in 2018. He was approved since 2021. The income level recommends that 50% approval that we're allowed by statute.
I think that's the second one on error.
Yeah.
That's actually,
It doesn't
nope.
show in the media
I know, on ours,
because it's
on
confidential.
ours, that's the second one.
The second one.
Yeah,
So yeah, the parcel ending in
yeah,
0012.
yep, okay.
And then if we can move on to the second one, this is actually a home trailer. It is a first-time applicant. The income level that we're allowed to give tax relief to is at $40,840. This fellow, because of a divorce settlement of $80,000, is well over that limit, and therefore and my staff had explained this to him. They had sent a withdrawal form. He never had completed it, so therefore we bring it in front of the council to formally deny.
Thank you very much. If you've looked at that, I'd entertain a motion let's do those individually.
Okay.
On just by their parcel number.
I was gonna say, I
Last
took
four.
the opportunity to read through these, and it's, it's really quite enlightening to see some of the struggles that people are having to deal with. I would make a motion that we approve the 50% waiver for 0012.
I'll second that.
Moving second that we approve you said 6?
It's 0012.
Is the last four,
Two.
the last four digits on that parcel number?
Yeah, what was the percentage you say?
50%.
50%. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimous. How about the other one which is at 0?
1214.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion there if you've looked at that.
I will make a motion that on parcel ending in 1214, we deny, as has been approved by our staff.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded that we support the denial for 1212. 1214, excuse me, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Thank you very much.
And then I have one more piece of information for you to sign off on. Every year in your last meeting in August, I bring before you a request for you to extend the filing deadline. The filing deadline for 3 of our types of tax relief, which are the low income, the indigent, which are the hardships that we just did, and the blind, is September 1st. And then our treasurer mails out usually the end of October, the 1st of November, and there's many people that then have trouble and they need some tax relief. The statute allows the council through legislative action to extend that through December 31st, which we've tried in previous years. However, it causes a problem with us processing and also with our treasurer needing to collect all of the taxes by November 30th. And therefore, we present to you a request for an extension to November 30th of this year for the low income, the indigent, and the blind.
I'd entertain a motion. We have done this every year since I've
Yeah,
known,
we've done
so
this for
I think this
probably a
is
decade.
appropriate, but I'll entertain a motion as such.
Move to approve the tax relief extension request as presented.
Second it.
Moved and seconded that we approve this tax relief extension for the low-income, indigent, and blind. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. Okay, let's go ahead and pending action. I think the Nautica is still on hold, right? Okay. How about ordinance 2024-08?
So maybe just a real quick update. Nautica, we met with the we met as staff and talked to the applicant, so they should be ready by the 27th. So we are working with them to move them forward.
Now, has that got significant changes to where it has to go back to planning and zoning?
We are currently discussing that. My initial opinion, I don't think so, but we're doing a review of the code to make sure.
I think P&Z ought to at least know what's happening, you know.
And so they haven't made much changes to the actual plat and the plan that was presented. But by code, because of the right-of-way amendment, the council is the land use authority and the planning commission is a recommendation body in this case. And so my initial opinion is that I don't believe it needs to go back to planning commission as it currently is presented. But we're doing a quick review of that to ensure that's the case.
I just don't want to in any way circumvent their responsibilities, so.
Yes, I would agree with that. So today, I don't really have much of an update. We talked last time about a lot of development standards and potential avenues to move forward. I know there's been a lot of concern about our development standards, but I also, staff's recommendation is still that we approve the subdivision ordinance as presented, which the ordinance itself mostly talks about process for approval. And then if the council desires or wants to really dive into subdivision or development standards, that we hold that as a separate item and plan to do, especially after the budget workshops are done, maybe plan to do a joint workshop with the Planning Commission and Public Works to really nail down through some of those development standards, if that's what the council wants to do. Are there any questions about the?
As I've read through this, I'm encouraged because it seems to me like these proposed changes will help somewhat in streamlining the application process and get things done a little more quickly. That's something that we have been concerned about, is being able to help people move through the process more easily. And this seems to me to take some good strides toward that end. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, that's my opinion as well. I think in 2023, the legislature provided some positive steps to ensure that subdivision reviews were happening quickly throughout the state, but in their haste, I feel like the code that they approved also hurt in that aspect. And so the changes they did this year, which this code update is responding to, I believe fixes most of those type of issues. Like, for instance, one of the big issues that we've had since that new ordinance was approved is requiring detailed improvement drawings up on the front end. And that can waste time and money for the property owner. I mean, we required to by state law. But that wastes time and money because you're paying an engineer to provide tentative drawings, which then get redlined, and they may have to make big changes. When really, we just need a site plan and a plat that shows where the infrastructure is. And then once they get the green light for that, that allows them to be able to put more of an investment into the project. So I would agree. I think it's better for property owners.
Okay, it is under the pending action. We have talked about this for a week or two, but.
Well, I then, if you're waiting for a motion, I will make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-08, Title 16 subdivision regulations.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve ordinance 2024-08. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I was going to say the changes weren't that drastic.
Yeah, pretty minor. It actually is more of a return to how we were processing applications before.
So, okay, how about, Micah, you got the next one? On.
This is Resolution 2024-14. Talked about this at the last meeting. I had some changes that mostly just some typos and some requests from finance that needed to be implemented. At the last meeting, they've now been implemented. But this, just as a reminder, this resolution will go into the new countywide policy manual and establish defined uses for certain line items in a departmental budget. And those definitions, those approved uses are listed here in the resolution and in the policy. They include personnel-related expenses, office expenses, education, training, travel, building and grounds, utilities, other sorts of line items that are present in most departmental budgets. There are other line items that are unique to a given department that aren't contemplated in this policy. And that's essentially what this policy does, and really that's about it. Happy to answer any questions.
We've vetted this fairly thoroughly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been working on this one for a few months.
So if there's no, just to move it along, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-14.
Second it.
Moved and seconded that we approve Resolution 2024-14. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, unanimous. Okay, let's take initial proposals. Are there any of those? We'll have Resolution 2024-17. Amy?
You have this to put on the screen.
Oh, yeah, screen.
That'd be great, just for, thank you. So what's before you is the health insurance section of our personnel policy and procedures manual. And hopefully you're able to have it on your iPads while Mike is bringing that up. I'll just walk through each of those changes to help you understand. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to jump in. So on this first part, the very first sentence, we're just adding full-time elected officials because full-time elected officials would be eligible for health insurance. Just to make that more clear. The next sentence that has a red strike through it is being taken out because we have discontinued the county wellness program, so that's no longer relevant. The green section there in the last of the first paragraph is actually just being moved from section B up to the first paragraph, so it reads better and is more understandable. It fit better there. In subsection A, the change would be made that the health insurance plan, they need to sign up within 30 days of their hire date rather than the 60 days. That's according to our plan documents and has been in effect for several years, and just this hasn't been updated. So the next part is subsection A2 or double I guess, just making sure that we're making some changes that when we left PHP years ago, our new plans say that employees will be able to have their insurance through the end of the month that they leave employment rather than at 12 midnight on the day that they leave employment. And so that's just clarifying there. In subsection B, that is just basically a rewording to make it more clear and to take out the part that was very confusing. So just a rewrite there. Subsection C is where this all started and why I started reviewing this section. And so in there we can see that we've added the full-time elected officials again, and adding in, this is talking about their stipend. So maybe it's just easier if I read it and then we can talk about it. But the county pays a stipend to full-time eligible employees and full-time elected officials who do not elect health insurance coverage and provide proof of health coverage through other insurance sources. This stipend is paid to the employee as a contribution to their 401k plan. Post-retired employees will be given the stipend as a separate line item on their pay stubs. So this is where this all came about, was because we have a post-retired employee, meaning that he retired last year, has sat out his year that is required by the Utah retirement system, and has returned to work for us. But according to the URS rules, the county is not able to make any contributions to their retirement or their 401k. And he felt that was inequitable because he's not taking our insurance. He still wanted to be able to take advantage of this benefit that is eligible to other employees. And so by adding that last sentence, post-retired employees will be given a stipend as a separate line item on their pay stub, that he would still be able to receive that stipend. So that's why that has been added for consideration to be updated. And then just striking out the rest of that sentence because it's not relevant anymore. So are there any questions? Yeah.
How is the stipend calculated?
So it's basically half of what the single in premium would be. So for the annual premium. So the full, let me explain. So the full premium for a single coverage is $7,288.92 annually. And so the county would be putting in half of that into their 401k or as a stipend to them. So $3,644.52. So it's essentially saving the county that $3,600 plus because they are on other insurance. Any other questions?
So if it's paid as a post-retired employee, that is a one-time.
No, they would get it monthly because we don't want to pay it upfront in case they do leave employment, right? So it's basically paid in their check, so they would get $151.86 per paycheck.
So, but do they have an option to take the insurance though if they come back?
Yeah, so they may have other
Happens to
coverage,
be-
so their spouse may have coverage
Yeah.
that they're on that, and so,
And this doesn't just go with just post-retired people, does it?
no, this goes for all
Everybody,
employees if
yeah.
they're covered by other coverage, so maybe their spouse, or maybe we do have a lot of employees that have the military coverage, so they don't take the county coverage.
Is that gonna be pretty expensive for the county to?
It actually, this has been in place for 2 years, so this is nothing new. It's just a different way of doing it for the post-retired because we're not able to give it to them in their 401k. And so as we talked about as a compensation committee 2 years ago, we decided that the 401k contribution was really a great way to do that because it doesn't add to their take-home pay, and so, but it adds to their future of what they could be having. And so it's benefiting the county because we're not paying for that insurance, but it also then is benefiting the employee as well.
Is that the same thing that's done by other municipalities or whatever? Because a post-retired employee, that's the beauty of it, is going and getting a job elsewhere, so.
Right, yeah. A lot of other municipalities and agencies do a stipend for people that don't take the insurance. Some are as rich as if you don't take the family insurance, they would give you all of the benefit of the family insurance into your check. So
Regardless of your status, we just do this half of the single.
Right. Any other questions?
Thanks, Amy. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you very much. Okay, it is under initial. Do you want to think about that longer or wait till in 2 weeks, digest a little bit more? What do you think?
We talked about this in policy and procedure, and I think, Carl and Mark, I think we pretty well agreed to go ahead with this. Carl, you have any other opinion to express on that?
No, I think that was the general consensus. It seemed like an equitable way to compensate these people.
I did want to have one question. How about part-time elected officials? Do they have options at all for insurance?
No. Sorry.
We asked that.
Well, I'm not racing to get to Medicare.
Some of us are there, too.
I know.
We're taking a step every day, buddy, so.
That's an understatement.
We don't offer benefits to part-time employees, whether they're a public safety, a public employee, or an elected official.
I've actually had that discussion with some other entities that they do.
Do they?
Yeah, they allow them to buy insurance through that while they're an elected official. So,
We could look at that if that's something that
Yeah.
you're interested in.
oh, by the time we get done with it, I'll be dead anyway, so. Thank you.
All right. I'll make a motion that we, what's the proper wording? Don't waive the rules.
That we,
Suspend.
yeah,
Is it
suspend
waive-
the rules.
Suspend the rules and approve a resolution 2024-17.
It's been moved and seconded that we suspend the rules and pass resolution 2024-17. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. How about, the next one? Are you gonna discuss this one? Okay, it's up there. Ordinance 2024-10. That's a good one right there.
Yeah, it's more like that. I'm not sure what's going on though.
Work? No. Always wanted one of those.
Clap it on.
I always wanted one of those in the house, you know, just the lights, yeah, the lights or something. Wow, that's nice, yeah.
That's cloudy.
Partly cloudy.
Yeah.
Not sure what's going on there. Just working there for a minute. Well, I can,
We'll follow along if you'd like.
yeah, I'll just go ahead and explain.
Okay.
Fix that. Get the camera for those watching on the stream. So this is ordinance 2024-10. This is related to the preparation of council meeting agendas. This is an issue that has kind of come up here and there as long as I've been working for the county council. And a couple of you asked me to get moving on this, and really the practical effect of this is that under this ordinance, we should be able to publish a council meeting agenda 1 week ahead of time. Right now, the procedure in county code isn't really explained. It's explained in some detail, but not in terms of, like, there's no deadlines in county code, so it's just kind of informal, and the informal deadline has essentially been Friday afternoon. Everything needs to get to me, and then I publish it Friday afternoon before council meeting. The issue with that is that gives you guys, Friday night. If you take the weekend off, you're not looking at it. You open it up Monday, and that gives you Monday and Tuesday. And I know many of you are looking at it on the weekend, but essentially have 4 days to prepare for any given council meeting. Today's agenda is one of the longest I think we've done, and that's not a lot of time to get ready for these big long meetings sometimes. So what this ordinance will do is it require everyone in the county, anyone, to get their requests sent to council staff, which is me, 7 days before a given council meeting. The only exceptions to that are members of the county council and the county executive. Those county code gives any member of the county council and the county executive the ability to add things to the council meeting agenda when they would like. So when I put this ordinance together, I didn't feel like it was my place to change that in this ordinance, so I didn't. So this would require anyone else, any other department head, anyone from the public that wants an item on a council meeting agenda to make that request 7 days in advance. And then the goal would be to have that published on a Tuesday afternoon before council meeting. So that's really all this ordinance does. Happy to answer any questions.
What do you think? What's your question, sir?
I think it makes sense. I mean, let's
Yeah.
But I even if something comes from us or the executive, we still need time. I mean, 5 minutes before the
Right.
5 minutes before the meeting type of stuff, all of a sudden it gets put out and published, or 24 hours, you know, you still need time, because some of those documents can be pretty detailed and lengthy, I was hoping.
Existing state and county code already lay out that 24 hours before a meeting, you cannot add any action items. You actually can add, we don't amend any agendas 24 hours in advance, but you actually can amend the agenda. You just can't add any action items. So that's already the case. I don't know if we can.
How about information that's provided, you know, by us, like just a few minutes before the meeting, that really has a bearing on the action item?
Yeah, that would, you would not be able to add anything to the agenda. That is an action item.
But we could have put it on the media packet, couldn't we? If information was given to us?
You mean like your council packets?
Yeah, the council packet.
Yeah, so it can be added to the council packet. I've added things to your council packet during the meeting. But anything related to an action item would need to be 24 hours ahead of time. And so if that happens and something is, a council member or the executive attempts to add something to the agenda less than 24 hours, it could not, no action could be taken pertaining to that item. And that's already true now.
Yeah, I don't think we should I think we should leave that 1 week still available to us or the executive, so that, because there may be something that comes up that we really feel like we need to deal with. But outside, any other outside departments have to give us a week to look over what they're doing.
That's what the ordinance is saying, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But then I would admonish that if information does come up that affects a legislative process or a legislative decision, an action item, that we ought to be prudent and at least maybe even wait to decide on that action item.
Yeah,
late information.
Yeah, okay.
So
I agree with that.
that's happened a couple times, and I think that we're just trying to be better prepared as we come into these councils, and getting that information early is better for everybody.
I agree.
So,
Yep.
okay, what do you, I know it's an initial. Want to look at it longer, or it's up to you guys? All that's your privy.
Well, I would suspend the rules and make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-10.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded that we suspend the rules and pass ordinance 24-10. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And go ahead with the publication of meeting minutes. And this is kind of cleaning some things up too, isn't it?
Yeah. I did actually just get a text from Mark. He is able to join.
Okay.
Dirk, do you mind giving Mark a call on that phone there? And
I can try.
Put it on speaker.
911.
Does 9 get me out?
I don't know.
Let me pull up ordinance. I'm still having trouble getting things up on that screen. So I've got ordinance 2024-12. It is in your packets. So earlier tonight, we had the presentation from the external auditor, Jason Slight. One of the findings in that audit report was that the certain meetings of the county that are open and public and have to comply with the Open and Public Meetings Act, the minutes weren't getting posted within the required 30-day period.
Yeah.
That's a requirement of the Utah Open and Public Meetings Act. And so what this, and we talked about it in an audit committee meeting, and this is sort of a function of the process of minutes being somewhat disjointed. Every committee is a little different. Every meeting is a little different. It's including this one. One person posts it to the county website, another person posts it to the state website. What this ordinance is going to do is centralize that responsibility. and it's going to require that the county clerk or his designee to ensure that meeting minutes are being posted for every open and public meeting in the entire county. So the ordinance is kind of long, but it is pretty simple. It's just kind of restating the same thing 3 different times in the county code for different meetings, that for these meetings or other meetings. Really the kind of, I would say, most important part of the ordinance comes on the very last page, Exhibit C, which is an amendment to the responsibilities of the county clerk. And it does state at the end that part of one of the clerk's responsibilities is to ensure that minutes for all open and public meetings in the county are being posted by the clerk or someone in the clerk's office. Bryson, our clerk, isn't here today, but I did meet with him and his records supervisor, is that Lola's position? And they very much ready to take this on, and it really isn't a huge addition to their responsibilities. So
we do have several different people taking minutes for different meetings.
Yeah, and the problem is not so much minutes being taken. Every meeting minutes are
getting those minutes go up to the clerk's office so that they can then process them as they need.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, this is again another thing that has happened due to the unprecedented turnover that we've experienced. That these processes have kind of fallen through the cracks.
Okay.
I think we've got, is that Mark?
Mark has joined us.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, thanks for letting me join in.
Welcome.
Okay. Any more information on ordinance 2024-12?
Does this ordinance, I was reading through it earlier and I get confused, but does it address which meetings have to be public?
No.
No. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I think we should revisit that a little bit.
Yes.
That's a whole different thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to share that, Barbara?
Go ahead.
There was an ordinance that I put together that is currently in Ordinance and Policy Review Committee that does that. The Ordinance and Policy Review Committee met on this last Friday, and we had a pretty good discussion about this. This side of things, it's a little bit, that side of things is a little bit more complicated.
But this just affects the minutes.
Just the minutes for all meetings that do have to be open to public.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
I'd be willing to make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we suspend the rules and approve ordinance 2024-12 as it's been presented to us.
Second it.
Moving second, we suspend the rules, pass ordinance 2024-12. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Are you opposing or saying?
I think that's a slow.
That was an aye.
That was an aye.
That was an aye.
An aye.
All those opposed say nay.
An aye.
Okay. Motion passes unanimous. Okay. At this point, we'll just take a look at the other business items, add to it. Any of those additions, deletions of people that's going to those?
I can't go to any of them.
Is anybody going to River Heights and Providence?
I'm going to River Heights in Providence.
I'd like to go to River Heights. I can go to River Heights.
It's a fun little parade. I'm going to be out of town, so I won't be going.
But I think I can go to Wellsville too.
Actually, I think I might be going to Wellsville.
I like the Wellsville parade.
So no one can go to Providence?
I can't.
I can't go to the Providence one to drive, but I can drive a truck for Wellsville and River Heights.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't mind planning one with Wellsville.
I'll still be out of town, otherwise I would go to Providence, but I won't.
Tentatively put me down for the Wellsville. You'll be at Wellsville?
Should be, yeah.
I would like to. I've never been to, I've been to Wellsville once.
It's a nice parade.
Come to the party.
Put me down tentatively for
It was actually
River
pretty
Heights
fun.
and Wellsville.
But since John's not there, we'll actually be able to get through the whole parade with enough candy.
Micah, did you see about
Any
getting
is-
shirts?
Any additions, deletions with the UAC?
I'm down now, so.
Yeah, I've got everyone signed up.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't,
sad we're gonna miss this.
I might back out of the hotel for 2 nights. I might just be there one night. I'll talk to you about it though.
Okay,
I don't need
summer
to go.
party still on for the 19th?
Still on, just to it's for the council members and their spouses and children, if the children want to come. But I would like to have a number by the 15th, yeah, by the next meeting. Well, I won't be
Yeah.
here next meeting, but by September 2nd, so I can
Okay.
have a head count, please. Okay.
Terrific. Okay, quick council member reports. Nolan?
I don't think I have anything right now.
Catherine?
Nothing.
Barbara?
I just want to say one thing. I volunteered down at the county fair 2 times this past week, and I want to commend the young people of this county and how great they were down at the parade. So very polite, very respectful of everything, and I think that they and their parents deserve commendation because they were great. I really enjoyed meeting with them and talking to them.
Terrific.
I'm good.
Sandy? Carl?
I'll just second what Barbara said. And kudos to Lane and everybody involved with it. It was, and Bart just really handled very well, I thought.
They did.
Terrific. Yeah, down the Cache County Fair, that's kind of a big deal, but it is, to me, I've always described this as the county's celebration. Deep roots, deep heritage, and it all comes together, and the amount of people there this year and the number of people that were involved and the volunteer level was just out of this world. You know, sold out nights, rodeo, all that stuff, the number of people that were there for the different concerts, and the junior livestock sales surpassed 1.2 million in opportunities that is going to these kids for future education, life scholarships, things like that. 630 animals that were sold all day long Saturday. It was fascinating. It was just amazing that also to see all the people and to see the entire community of Cache County just rally together and enjoy a wonderful celebration. So that was wonderful. Also, last week we had a wonderful ride up into the mountains, and we went on some roads. Nolan, Catherine, and we went up on some of our public roads up there. And we have some big decisions coming at us, and we need to decide what we're going to be doing, how we're going to approach that to respect the public's opportunities. It looks like maybe some battles are coming ahead, but we need to really work with things on that and work with each other. But we need to protect those things. So it was a great ride, very informational.
My goal from the first year I was here was to get the Danville
Yeah.
Road going.
Yeah,
Still
we got legislated out of that one. So, anyway, let's go ahead. What's that? Oh, Mark, you're still on there? Do you have any report?
Just echo everything that was said about the fair and rodeo. My sentiments as well. It was excellent. Kudos to everybody involved in making that be such a great success. Thank you.
I will now accept a motion to go into executive session, and please read the 3 different things that we will be discussing.
So moved.
You have to read those things. Do you have to read it?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Okay, read them out loud.
Well,
Carl.
okay. I will make a motion that we go into executive session to cover 3 separate items. A strategy session to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation. A strategy session to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property. And a discussion of the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual.
Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
It is Moved and seconded that we go into executive session for the stated processes by Carl. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we'll now go